Happening now, a man is in serious condition after police say he shot himself during a domestic dispute last night. Plus, how a local coffee and bake shop is reopening their indoor dining rooms.
And we have more sun out there today than we had yesterday, and that is going to continue through the day today, but the humidity rises. We'll talk about it next. The News at Noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now. This is WNY News Now with live breaking news.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now. We start with that breaking news. A Village of Lakewood man is in serious but stable condition after police say he shot himself following a domestic dispute with his wife yesterday. Lakewood Bustye Police Chief John Bentley tells us that passerbyers first witnessed the dispute at a house on Fairmount Avenue and then attempted to help the woman escape. However, the man allegedly drew his weapon on them. Bentley says the victim was able to get away, and when officers got to the scene, the man was holding a handgun.
He had the gun in his hand. He was standing in the driveway, and when they contacted him, made verbal contact with him, that's when he fired one round, and then he proceeded to immediately fire another round and shooting himself.
Now, Bentley says officers immediately provided first aid until paramedics arrived there. The man was flown to UPMC Hammett in Erie, later transferred to a Pittsburgh hospital. Bentley says charges against the man are likely, and police are not quite ready to release his name yet, but are expected to in a little bit. Well, a longtime restaurant and bar staple here in Jamestown will not be reopening following the COVID-19 shutdown. Pal Joey's announced the news this morning in a post on their Facebook page, saying it's with great sadness that we share with you that Pal Joey's will not be reopening. Although our initial shutdown was mandated due to COVID, this is not the reason we're closing. After 33 years of serving our community, it is just time to say farewell. The post furthered by saying how grateful the restaurant ownership was for its dedicated workforce. The restaurant and bar first opened in 1987. Well, a winning Take 5 lottery ticket worth more than $14,000 was sold in Lakewood. The New York Lottery says the ticket was purchased on Monday at the Lakewood convenience store on Fairmount Avenue. The ticket is worth $14,460.50. 3 other winning tickets were sold in Brooklyn, Hope Junction, and Rosedale, New York. Well, Governor Andrew Cuomo signed off on additional police reform bills yesterday, in addition to a new executive order called the New York State Police Reform and Reinnovation Collaboration. The governor says every locality with a police agency will need to ratify or adopt a plan by April 1, or they could lose their state and federal funding for police. The governor is urging localities to get started today.
How do we take this moment and actually institutionalize it to have progress? And that's going to require local leaders to come to the table. We want a new design for public safety in their community. We want it by April 1. We want it to be legislated by April 1, so come up with a plan after putting everyone at the table and then pass it into law and get it done by April 1.
Now, the governor signed off on additional police reforms, including one that requires an officer to report a weapon discharge within 6 hours, and another requiring police departments and courts to track arrest data on race and ethnicity. Well, one of Chautauqua County's largest medical providers will be receiving more than $10 million in federal aid to help with costs associated with the COVID-19 pandemic. Congressman Tom Reed announced in total 3 area hospitals will receive funding from the Health and Human Services Provider Relief Fund. Those payments total over $20 million in relief, with more than $10 million going to UPMC Chautauqua Hospital, $5 million to the Brooks TLC Hospital System, and the IRA Davenport Memorial Hospital. Now, the funds, which target safety net hospitals that treat patients regardless of their insurance status or ability to pay, were allocated in the CARES Act and the Paycheck Protection Program, as well as the Health Care Enhancement Act. Well, several of the Jamestown Tim Horton locations opened their dining rooms this morning. Owner Blake Turana says that the restaurant in Brooklyn Square, along with ones on East 2nd Street and in Lakewood, are reopened to 50% capacity in their dining room areas, that in accordance with the New York State reopening guidelines. He says that anyone who comes indoors must have a mask on unless they are seated for eating.
I think we've had 2 or 3 people sit inside. We're getting more people come inside and taking their food out, but I think it's definitely going to take time to get people to come back in again, sit down, and enjoy the atmosphere here. I think people just need to get used to it again.
Turana says that the restaurant will continue to enforce social distancing guidelines like social distancing and keeping 6 feet apart. Well, we hope everyone is having a good day, and we thank you for joining us here on WNY News Now. Let's check in with the comments and say hello to Peter. Great to see you here. Good to see Pam. Good to see David. Good to see Connie. Good afternoon to Lori. Good afternoon to Sherry, Lisa, and Dave watching as well. Hopefully all of you are having a good day and enjoying what sunshine you have out there. Now let's switch gears a little bit and get a check of our First Defense weather forecast. That's where we find Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. Hey, Dakota.
Hey, Justin, and you just can't see me. We're having a little technical gafunkles with the chroma key today, so I will do the weather from in the weather office today. That is a live look over Finley Lake. You can see the clouds overhead with that temperature of 68 degrees. Satellite and radar composite shows you the clouds that have been filling in across the southern tier today. So it's going to be a mix of sun and clouds, but we're going to have more sun than we had yesterday. So that is the good news here. Pollens, we're still dealing with this stuff. I mean, I totally feel you if you're dealing with this. Grass pollen way up there in the high category today, and the tree pollen is also in the moderate category, and we need rain to wash the pollen away, and we're not going to get any for at least a few more days. 71 was the high yesterday, 51 was the low this morning. So here's the forecast basically through the afternoon. Oodles of sunshine, not Oodles the talking poodle. All my 90s babies who watch Rugrats will know that reference. A little bit warmer than it was yesterday, but still comfortable. 73 on the highest hills to 78 near the Lake Erie shoreline. We continue this warm up all the way through the week, and we have a little bit of rain possibly over the weekend and next week. We'll talk about it in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, thank you very much. Coming up next here on the broadcast, we have a lot more to talk about, including one of Chautauqua County's election commissioners joining us live there you see him there, to discuss the upcoming primary and the new safety measures that are now in place following the COVID-19 pandemic. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters, this is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvan Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
When you're on the go, stay in the know by downloading the WNY News Now mobile app. Stay up to date on local news, weather, and sports that matter to you. Plus, subscribe to breaking news and weather alerts from the team that puts coverage first. In addition, watch news as it happens with the Southern Tier's only 24/7 streaming network. Download the WNY News Now app right now. It's free on the Apple App Store and Google Play Store.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. The June 23rd primary election is just 1 week away. joining us to talk more about the primary and the safety measures that are in place following the COVID-19 pandemic is Chautauqua County's Democrat Election Commissioner, Norm Green. Sir, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
First off, how much of an impact really has COVID-19 had on the election process here, not just in Chautauqua County, but across the state and nation?
Well, I can't speak for the rest of the state and nation, but like in our case, we have 40,000 masks that are available for the voters, and for the election workers, we have 100,000 gloves that are available for the election workers. We're going to have for the election workers, anybody who comes in that's concerned. We're going to have cleaning materials. We got a cleaning protocol before and after. All of our poll sites in Chautauqua County, 49 poll sites, will be open on Election Day from 6 a.m. That's new. 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. And so there's quite a bit of planning that's gone into this and quite a bit of instruction that's gone into this. Very expensive.
Certainly, and I know that the rules for this primary have changed quite a bit. Here locally, I believe the town of Busti Republicans have a primary ballot that they'll be marking. But as well, there is the big the Democrat primary, which some have already kind of said that it looks like it's leaning to Joe Biden. But registered Democrats in the county, what specifically will they see when they look at a ballot, whether it's absentee or now in-person voting is allowed again for the primary?
Well, in-person voting, we've already got 6,000 applications to receive historic numbers. So a lot of people, over 5,000, have already been returned. We got a lot of people that are voting by mail. So the majority of votes will be already cast before we open our poll site. We have Joe Biden and all nine remaining months before the April primary that was supposed to happen in April. All those people are still on the ballot, and the delegate candidates are on the ballot. And the intention is right now is to determine how many delegates every candidate will get out of New York State, and specifically out of the 23rd Congressional District.
It sounds like there's already quite a bit of involvement with people casting their absentee ballots. I know school board elections will also send out absentee ballots for the various jurisdictions as well. For you, because of COVID, do you think that affects how people participate in the political system and whether they go to vote, or do you think that the absentee helps make it more available to people that they can just vote from home prior to?
I think there's a whole bunch of people that voted from home that wouldn't have voted at all. So that's probably a good thing. So, yeah, it did change the landscape. Of course, the school election, this is not even, Jamestown normally gets 800 voters grand total, and they've got 3,000 some ballots, which we're helping to count at 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. We're helping to count a lot of school districts around the county, which is unique in New York State. Most counties won't even assist their boards of elections at all, and we like to be full partners. But to answer your question, yeah, the election has changed, and I think that anybody that wondered whether balloting by mail was something that might work, the question has been answered now. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I know there were some people who were kind of critical of a mass absentee just because they're like, I've never done this before. Is it the same type of process? Does my vote continue to count? And I know we've talked before about the process of getting an absentee, but you at the Board of Elections level takes it very seriously when you have these ballots submitted that they end up fully counting towards the end. Can you remind us a little bit about what the process is like when someone requests a ballot, gets it, fills it out, and sends it to you? How is that chain of custody?
Well, the chain of custody, first thing we do is a bipartisan team retrieves the ballots out of a post office box so that it doesn't go through the normal mailroom. The bipartisan team takes the ballot back, checks the signature to make sure that the signature matches the voter registration record, and then puts it into a two locked box. You got a Democratic key and a Republican key. So nobody's allowed to go in unless both commissioners say, hey, yeah, let's unlock the locks. Republicans don't have access to Democratic keys, and Democrats don't have access to Republican keys. So the chain of custody is there, and I'm confident of it, and I hope that the voters of Chautauqua County are confident, and also people like you, the reporters of Chautauqua County, are confident in the system. And we go to it's a painful system. I mean, it's painful to send two people over to a PO box to pick up one absentee ballot on some days, or none. But that's the system, and it's important, and it's important that people have trust in what we do.
Yeah, and Norm, I think it's incredible to look at throughout all that we've been through now with the COVID shutdown, very unprecedented, and to now the social change that we're seeing across the nation, where the solid fact that we can trust on is the fact that our votes will continue to count going forward. For you, reflecting on that, all that has happened, is it just as amazing to see? And I know you've worked for a long time in the election business, but that people are still coming together, casting their ballots, and their voices are being heard.
Yeah, it's exciting to see people participating in democracy, and so yeah, anytime the system works, you're pretty happy. In Chautauqua County, we work really hard to make sure that the voting system works, and we believe in it, and we have confidence in it, and the voters should too.
Now, onto the point where we've seen a lot of social change. I mean, people taking to the streets here in Jamestown following the killing of Mr. Floyd there in Minneapolis. Have you seen an increase in the amount of people registering to vote since we've started to see this civic call for action?
Not particularly. I mean, so we've already, if you go to get a driver's license, the voter registration process is there. It's so available, and so we have nearly 80,000 people registered to vote in Chautauqua County, and we know that they receive mail because we send mail to them once a year. So that leaves people will say that, hey, the population of Chautauqua County is 126. You and I know that it's probably closer to 120. So there's about 40,000 people, of which those are either people that have no desire to participate in the system, or they're not 18 yet. And so I'm pretty confident that anybody who in Chautauqua County, and we're a stagnant community. I wish I could say otherwise. I wish I could say, gee, there's thousands of people that show up in Chautauqua County, move in, build houses. Not happening. So I think in Chautauqua County, voter registration, is pretty accessible and pretty stagnant. And, we love our county. We stay here all our lives. We don't move around much. So I think that's covered. So we haven't seen much of an uptick. The years when I have seen upticks in Chautauqua County was 2008, the Barack Obama election, which, he carried Chautauqua County in 2008, and the colleges. Well, the colleges aren't here now. The colleges are all the kids went home. So, we don't have that college thing. And then I also saw it in 2000, big push by the churches. They wanted to see President Bush elected, and saw a lot of outreach then. But I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it so far this year. And I see a voter registration table at the Black Lives Matter. I've been to several of those in Jamestown, and I don't see huge long lines of people registering to vote. I can only presume that they're already registered.
Yeah, and I was at that very same rally, and I think it was interesting that to start the rally, they asked folks, are you registered to vote? Make sure you're registered to vote, and make sure you do vote. Which a lot of times I don't imagine people take advantage of as much as they could. And the thing that is so interesting, and we talk about it quite often, is that, this 2020 now is a presidential election. So we see a high amount of voter turnout. But for some of the smaller races, whether it be a village or a town, we don't always see that, even though that's the government that most impacts people's lives.
And that they know the least about. I mean, I would walk down the street and talk to 10 people. You could too. Could they tell you who your county executive is? No. Could they tell you who your president is? Yes. Could they tell you who your governor is? Yes. But they can't tell you, and they definitely can't tell you who their mayor is. They can't tell you who their town council person is or city council person. That's pretty sad, but that is what it is. So this year we'll see about 60% of the registered voters, and closer to 70, turn out to vote, and the other 30% are probably sick or just have tuned out or zoned out. And then in a local year election, we'll be lucky to see 28%. Where when I first started in this business, you like to point out that I'm old. When I first started in this business, in a local year election, you'd be seeing 40 and 50% turnout to vote. So it's in the last 20 years, it's and it's not just Chautauqua County. Matter of fact, Chautauqua County beats the curve. I mean, we have a better voter turnout local year elections than other counties do. So it's sad, but it's exciting in a presidential year when all these people are getting in and want to vote.
Now, there's several local ticket items that are going to be on this ballot, including a special election for the county executive, county DA, a big race as well, a state assemblyman for Chautauqua County. That position is up. Do you think that those lining up with the presidential election this year could increase that local participation a little more?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you see it, but you also see a lot of people just fill in the oval for the president of the United States. I say, a good percentage, but you definitely have the local elections follow the curve. But 4 years ago, as an example, President Trump did very well in Chautauqua County, and Patrick Swanson that same year got elected on the Democratic line for district attorney. So we have discerning voters. We have voters that are willing to, take a look at the individual candidates and not just vote the party. And to make such an upswing, I point out Patrick Swanson because that's the obvious example. And you had had a huge upswing to Patrick Swanson, even though on the other end, at the beginning of the ballot, they were voting on the Republican line. They being the voters of Chautauqua County.
Yeah, and it's certainly interesting to look at and to see those statistics as to kind of where people go, and the fact that maybe they only target one specific candidate rather than looking at the whole ballot as a whole. So, all right, well, Chautauqua County Democrat Election Commissioner Norm Green joining us today. Sir, thank you for your time. And again, just to remind people, kind of as a quick fact, next Tuesday is primary day here in New York. What do they need to know when they get up in the morning?
When they get up in the morning, all poll sites are open 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. People are in doubt about their registration and they want to vote, they should go to the poll site. And in Chautauqua County, we make sure that people either vote on the machine or they get to vote by affidavit ballot. So everything that comes in will get the opportunity to vote. They shouldn't be hesitant. Do bring their face mask. If they don't have one, we've got them available. Do make sure when they walk in that that they take advantage of our district.
All right, Norm, I think we might have lost you there, but we thank you for joining us. And of course, if you visit the website votechautauqua.com, there is a lot more information on there. Let's now get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Dakota.
Well, as we take a live look outside from the top of the Doubletree Hotel, you can see the clouds just dotting the sky out there. Not a bad day. 71 as of noon hour right now with a variable wind of 3. Look at that dew point at 48. That means the air is relatively dry. And when the air is dry, That means it can't rain, and the dew point's going to be creeping up here. We're in this 40 to 50 range right here. Not sure if you can see my cursor, but 40 to 50 degrees is our dew points today. This is where we're going to be going here as we go into the weekend and the early part of next week. So talking about this, I mentioned this yesterday. This is starting to become an issue. We have not had much rain so far this year. Officially gauged at the Jamestown airport, 0.29 inches of rain, just a little over a quarter of an inch of rain this month. We should be at 2.41 inches for a rain total right now. So if you're very smart out there and you've already done the math, that means our rainfall deficit is 2.12 inches and continuing to grow here. And is there any signs of that changing? Well, no, not at least over the next 5 days anyway. Probability of rain, basically nothing over the next 5 days. Our next chance of rain is not until Sunday, and even that, it's a scattered chance. Monday looks to be our best chance for rain at this point. Hey, if you want to get out and golf, looking great. Temperatures lower to mid-70s today. Lots of sunshine with a few clouds and not as windy. So today will be a great day to get out on the golf course. But you know, social distance, separate carts, 6 feet apart. You all know that. Now here's what's going on here. That high pressure that you see right here is what's called a Rex block. It is blocking this area of low pressure down to the south from moving our way. So that is the reason why it is dry and why we don't have any rain in the forecast over the next few days. And no, Rex blocking does not involve a T-Rex. No. Just wanted to clear that up. All right, let's move on to future scan here. There's going to be a few more clouds than what's being depicted here, but otherwise a great day today. Tonight, mainly clear. The clouds will part. Another fabulous sunset tonight, so if you're out by sunset time, please take some photos of that. That'll be great, or just stare up into the sky. It'll be great for that, for stargazing. Tomorrow, basically just a rinse and repeat. Maybe a few more clouds. Again, almost the same thing for today, and temperatures nearing 80 once again. So there's the breakdown for tonight. Please be kind. Rewind. Anybody who, you know, all the blockbuster people will know that. Not quite as chilly, 51 to 58 tonight. Here come the next 7 days of your life. 78 tomorrow, 80 on Thursday. Just oodles of sun. Soak it up here. Now, as we get into Friday and Saturday, the humidity will start to increase, so the muggies will be coming back. There's our rain chance Sunday, but it's a scattered chance, widely spaced, and Monday will likely be our best chance for any widespread rain and temperatures into the lower 80s at that time. Justin?
All right, Dakota, can't beat the forecast. Thank you very much. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. We remind you, when you're on the go, you can stay in the know by downloading our mobile app. All you got to do is search WNY News Now in the Apple App Store or Google Play Store. We leave you with a live look over downtown Jamestown if you can't get out and enjoy it today.